Welcome, everyone, to the Meaningful Hearts podcast, where we discuss the everyday questions that make us or break us if we let them. I am your host, Drew. Take my hand and let's walk this journey together. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode. And today I want to get a little something off my chest. A little something different than we usually talk about on our podcast here. Being unapologetically yourself. I'm unapologetically myself. I know some people that are like that too. And now it ruffles some feathers because a lot of people get offended when people are a little bit too comfortable being who they are. And it might offend some people in the sense that maybe you say things, you come off the cuff, you don't sugarcoat it, you come right out and say it. And some people just don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. Well, I'm one of those people. If you haven't noticed the way that I talk on here sometimes, I might amaze some of you guys at some of the things I say and it come out of my mouth. But I'm speaking the truth. It's coming from the heart. Now, sometimes you say something and it's coming from the heart, but some people don't receive it that way. They receive it as, oh, that was an insult. You're coming at me right now, right? Well, that's not 100% true. It's just that people perceive it that way. But if you're being your true self, is that such a bad thing? And now I'll give an example of something that I came across recently that made me think about this. You know, in my dating life, I've dated some women in my life. In the past, I guess I was more of a people pleaser. I was doing more to cater to the woman that I was dating. And that's not a bad thing per se, but I was also creating false expectations for what I was going to do in the future with her. As far as maybe doing way too much and being a little too polite. And then when things start getting real, you become less polite, you become more comfortable with yourselves, and more or less the real person comes out. And there were things I didn't like, but I would just go with the flow because I really wanted to be in a relationship. I wanted to, date this person. Not to say that they were bad or anything, but there were certain things that I guess I wasn't cool with, but I didn't want to speak up because I didn't want to ruin the harmony, right? That's bullshit. And it's not how I am. It was just that I was so desperate, I guess, to be in a relationship that I didn't want to screw it up because I was so inexperienced. But fast forward, several years later, and coming out of that relationship was a long one, I realized something, that it's okay to vocalize right off the bat how you feel, what you're willing to not compromise with, and how you feel about certain things, and what you like and you dislike, and being okay with not caring about what that person thinks in regards to whether they're going to stay with you or not. And believe it or not, you get more respect. And things will actually surprisingly happen in the opposite for you. And that goes for the person that you're dating as well. You want them to be vocal as well. Because in the future, when it comes down the line, you'd be surprised that, there are a lot of men that suffer in silence, or women or whoever suffer in silence about their significant others because they can't be who they really are. Like, oh, my wife makes me do this, or my girl, my husband makes me do that. And, I don't want to do these things, or I don't want to meet his friends, or you don't vocalize how you really feel. You suffer in silence. And it's like, we have to sit here and formalize ourselves at all times, be this person that has formalities for every person, every relationship that we're in. No. Now, a lot of people do this. You don't have to be one of those people. And believe it or not, people will respect you more for being real. Being real. Now, listen, you're not going to be a crowd pleaser for everyone. But I will tell you, if you're always yourself, 100% true to who you are and how you feel, you never, ever have to worry. If that person stays with you and that person really cares about you and wants the relationship to happen, and they're cool with the terms in which it's happening, because, like I said, not everybody's going to agree to this, but you'll be surprised. You don't have to pretend or hide. If you never did that X, Y, and Z thing for that person, they're never going to expect those things from you. But if you start doing it just to be nice, and then over time, when you get comfortable, you don't do it anymore, they're going to be pissed off at you. And that's your fault too. So why not be the realest version of yourself? Say what you feel. Be truly who you feel and who you are. It really does help. It's tough. It's not an easy thing. A lot of people shy away from this, but I hear too many people complaining about their lives. Too many people saying, "Oh, you have to give in, and or you have to, pick your battles." Listen, you can pick your battles, but you don't have to make compromises like this. Truly, you don't. I mean, if you're an asshole, listen, if you're just a mean person, that's different. I'm not talking about being mean or being really hurtful to somebody or abusive. I'm not saying that. But if you have certain things that you just are bulletproof on, and this is how you are, and you're sure of yourself, let that person know. Let people know. I'm not just talking about romantic, friendships, whatever. Be yourself. Be the realest version of yourself. People will respect it. And not everybody has to understand it or get it, but a good majority of people will understand it. The people that care, the people that will stay around, will get it. As long as you're being a genuine person, you're not being malicious in any way, you're just being yourself, believe me, you'll get respect. You will. It's amazing. It'll like set you free. It'll set you free. It'll make you feel, wow, I don't have to pretend, or I don't have to put on this facade. You don't, because you're you. You're being yourself. You feel good about it because you can vocalize the way you feel, and they expect it from you. But when they don't, because you've been playing this game for so long, it's a surprise then. It's like, where did this person come from? And it's going to be a whole fight, right? It's going to be a big thing. Do this. Start being that person. If you're at home complaining, or you go out with your friends and you complain to your friends about what's going on at home, or whatever relationship's going on in your life, it's because you did not create those expectations. The ones about, not doing something or doing something or being there, whatever it is. You didn't set the rules there. You made those false pretenses that they got used to. You need to be yourself, and you need to let people know who you are. Be that person. It is so much better to be who you are. You do that naturally. There's no playing around with that. There's no imagination involved with that. You're yourself. It'll just flow. It'll just flow, and then you'll be in such a better place mentally and emotionally. And you don't have to complain, because I'm sorry, don't bitch about something that you put yourself in or are not willing to change. Now, if you complain about it, but you're hearing this podcast, you're like, what, I'm gonna have a talk about it. Then go talk about it. Talk about it with whoever that person is. Speak to them. Let them know. Give them your true feelings. And if the result is that relationship ends, well, that relationship was never real to begin with, because it was based on false pretenses. It was based on the fact that you weren't being who you were. So they weren't with you, or they weren't in a relationship with you as the real you. So that person might be upset with you. They might cut their losses, but at least you're not going to be living in misery pretending to be something you're not. And I get it. Sometimes you're in business. You have to finesse things a little bit. It's a little different. But in your personal relationships, just be a true, honest person. Business, you can be true and honest, but there's a little more finesse to it. I get it. But just be your real self, because the fake self, it's not going to last. That whole pretending, that whole being and jumping through hoops, that's not going to last. And I know so many people that do it, and I hear them and I talk to them, but it's like, oh, this is what you do, when you're with somebody and you love them, and no, it's bullshit. You created a rabbit hole for yourself, and now you can't dig yourself out of it because you're married now. So now you got more to lose, I guess, right? Yeah, you might have kids, or you might have finances tied up, and you can't. This person it banked on you being this person now, so now you got to live this falsehood. Now, I don't believe in at any point that it's ever over for you, but most people just say, "Hey, this is my life, and I'll just live it." No, fuck that. Time is very valuable. And whether you have to start over, you have to start having difficult conversations. That's another thing. People avoid difficult conversations. Oh, I don't want to say that. I don't want to. No. Because why? Because you're going to have to sit there and you're going to have to look somebody in the face and tell them something that they don't want to hear, or it's going to upset them, or it's going to make you feel vulnerable and you're going to have to answer for yourself. Yes, it sucks, but that's what needs to be done. And the more that you push yourself to do things like that, you're going to put yourself in a lot of scenarios, not just in a personal life, but in business life. And any decision making, you're gonna feel a little more inclined to say, hey, listen, I've dealt with difficult situations and I can get through this, because you can. It just requires you putting your best self out there and doing that. Life is not easy. It's not. So you have to try at this. But don't live under a rock and say, you know what, I'll put that person to rest. I'm gonna be this person now because it's just easier to do this than no, because you're miserable. I'm sorry, I refuse to be somebody else. I want to be myself. You know, spread your wings and exist. You only get one shot at this. It doesn't happen again. You're not gonna get redial back the years you wasted, and you might end up having a falling out with that person anyways, and then starting fresh anyways, and then you're gonna be mad at yourself that you didn't do it sooner. Because they got sick and tired of you being a certain way. Maybe you were just, it was coming out of you that you were just like being resentful. You're going to create resentment too. Well, this was a quick one. I hope you got just what I was talking about. Being unapologetically yourself is not a bad thing. I love you all. Thank you for listening. Have a good night.